Hey guys, and welcome back for another video. With this series, I'd like to talk to you guys about fractals individually, quickly, and at their easiest level. For those of you guys out there who are looking to do fractals at the master level, I'll be leaving links into the description of each of these videos from a YouTuber named DeRoyer, who has made some fantastic and very detailed guides on the hardest version or the master tier fractals of the Mist. So whether you came here looking for a higher level guide or you play through this guide and want to know what it's like at some of the higher levels, you were pretty much covered. At the start of this fractal, head over to the only red marker on your minimap and make sure while you're making your way to this point, you're mindful of the ground, as there are several tripwires and traps that can stun and knock you down. These traps will persist through this entire part of the fractal, so keep those in mind, especially when we get to the second part of this room. Once you do make it to that red objective marker, you'll notice that it's 3 trees or wisp clefts, and once you approach them, a pathway that you can see will then close, and the 3 wisps will disperse around the map. It's at this point that you'll need to take 3 characters to each one of the wisps and carry them back to the wisp clefts before a timer runs out. Once any one wisp has been picked up, the timer starts, so just make sure that everyone's ready before any one person begins, and do your best not to be in combat or preoccupied with anything when this actually starts. In my experience, the best way to handle this is just to have someone count down in party chat. When running the wisps back to the wisp cleft, be mindful of the ground. As I said, there are several traps that can slow you down, and you are working against a timer here. Also, if you should encounter any enemies, be sure to try and avoid those as you make your way back, because again, you are on a timer and putting yourself in combat will slow you down. And on top of all of this, sometimes the map itself will slightly change so that a path that you took to, say, go track down and get a wisp is not the same that you can use to head back. The map changes themselves are as simple as some brush blocking what once was an opening, and there are several places where you can also just jump over this entire border wall. But once all 3 wisps have been returned to their clefts, the pathway that was once blocked is now reopened. Do keep in mind that in harder level fractals, the time that you have to complete this phase only gets shorter, so even though now you have over a minute to complete this part, it's a good idea to try and get better and better at this so that when you push through the higher level fractals, you're already a little prepared. Heading down the path, you will encounter sort of a mini-boss, the Moss Man, and this is a Norn enemy that summons several wolves, and you'll just need to take out the Moss Man and his wolves to open the next portion of this fractal. The Moss Man himself is pretty standard as far as Guild Wars 2 fights go. Just break his break bar with CC and do damage whenever possible. When the Moss Man's health bar gets low, he will turn into a wolf-Norn hybrid monster, but he doesn't become too much more difficult to defeat, so again, just use the regular tactics. Once the Moss Man has been defeated, you can head off into the next room, and this is actually already the end of this fractal. When you first enter this room, you can pick up a Mistlock Singularity off on the right-hand side of the room underneath a tree. Before you start the encounter, it's a good idea to take a look around the room and familiarize yourself with the 4 Wisp Cleft locations, as those will be key for fighting the Bloomhunger, or the boss for this fractal. At the start of the fight, someone will grab a wisp from the Wisp Cleft nearest to the entrance of this room and carry it forward to the next closest Wisp Cleft. Doing so will put a green circle on the floor, and it's only in these green circles that you'll be able to damage the boss. Additionally, the green circle itself is going to rotate clockwise from cleft to cleft. If ever during the fight you notice that the green circle that you're currently fighting in is getting smaller, you should probably head clockwise to the next cleft. The Bloomhunger is going to do several ground pound moves, as well as frequent charges from circle to circle. While fighting the Bloomhunger on any of the green circles, you should be mindful of the Bloomhunger's large AoE attacks, as well as his ground pounds and his charges. Every 25% of the Bloomhunger's health, he'll be turned back into a ghost whether he's standing in the green circle or not, and it's during this phase that you'll need to take out several spirit creatures similar to the Bloomhunger. These are going to be regular enemies that you would probably expect to be in a swamp, and these creatures are spirits until again you get them in those green circles. Once you've killed enough of these creatures to fill the white bar in the right-hand side of the screen, you can resume the fight. At 25% of his health, the Bloomhunger is going to go to the center of the room and start charging a massive attack. Looking at your minimap, you should see 4 locations that you'll need to head to, grab a wisp, and take to one of the 4 wisp locations I pointed out at the beginning of this fight. Doing so within the proper amount of time will let you continue the Bloomhunger fight, which pretty much just takes place in the center of the room. There'll be a permanent green circle on the ground, and from here you really just need to defeat him like you would any other boss in Guild Wars 2. On the other hand, failing to get all the wisps to the clefts in time will result in the Bloomhunger doing his massive attack, and while the initiate level fractals are pretty forgiving in this regard, I can assure you that anything outside of the earliest form of this fractal will result in a full party wipe. So make sure that during this phase especially you're paying close attention and you're able to get all 4 wisps there within the proper amount of time. The final 25% of the Bloomhunger's health bar is not too hard to take care of, and once you do, you'll be finally completed with the Swampland fractal. For those of you guys out there new to fractals, I hope this guide helped you, but as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.